The next movement sequence is done from a constructive rest position. Knees are bent, with the soles of the feet making contact with the floor. This is an excellent movement sequence to reduce tension around the spine and the low back, as well as the hips, the legs, and the upper body too. It's wonderful for all the joints, the nerves, the muscles, and the connective tissue. In this movement sequence, we rock the legs and the head in opposite directions in time with the breath. We experience a very gentle wringing out of the spine. If at any time you feel uncomfortable or if you feel pain, just stop, do less, or do something different that feels better. We'll be closing the eyes, so if you're wearing glasses, just remove them and put them in a safe place close by. Let's begin. We take a spot on our back with the knees bent, feet on the ground, and arms away from the side body. The feet are about hip-width apart, perhaps a bit wider. Then we become aware of the breath and where we're breathing. We watch for the next exhalation, and as the exhalation is happening, we begin to rock the knees to the right, letting the feet hinge. And the head and the neck are moving in the opposite direction of the knees. In-breath comes, and then everything comes back to center. Then another out-breath comes, and the knees move out to the left, and slowly the head moves to the right. We synchronize the movements and the breath, and we slow things down. We notice the end of the out-breath, and we enjoy a natural pause there just for a moment, enjoying that sense of completion. And then the in-breath comes, and we feel how everything expands so beautifully, and things slow down a bit more. When we pause at the end of the out-breath, we're engaging Bhayakumbhaka, this retention of the exhalation, and we just enjoy that pause without any striving to make it last longer. We just enjoy this coming in for a soft landing at the end of the out-breath. We notice how keen the in-breath is to come in, but it doesn't really agitate or disturb the nervous system in any way. It's very subtle and very gentle. Anytime the mind invites us away by regaling us with stories about the past or lists or plans or worries about the future, we just come back to the breath. No judgment or criticism, because this just creates more thoughts. There is a wonderful massaging and ironing out of tension on the back of the pelvis. We're slowing down the movements here. We're noticing this wonderful massage of the back of the head as well, the lunar plexus. This is where all of the upper back muscles and neck muscles come together and attach to the skull. Every breath cycle is releasing another layer of tension in the whole upper body. We're also resetting all of the physical connections between the legs and the hips and the spine. We notice that the breaths are becoming longer and slower and smoother and more complete. Ironing out of the back of the hips is helping to release tension at the bottom of the spinal cord, bottom of the sacrum, our sacred bone that fits in just so into the back of the pelvis, right below the waist. There's so much energy here, so many nerves, muscles, and connective tissues. There are so many blood vessels, and everything here is being flushed out and refreshed. We're slowing down the breaths and slowing down the movements. There is a wonderful massage and ironing out of the back of the head and the neck. All of the muscles and connective tissue here has been working so hard to keep the head in place, and now this whole area is beginning to let go. We feel this wonderful letting go of the jaws and this letting go of the eyes and the eyebrows as well. Every breath cycle is allowing another layer of tension to release, and our exhalations are helping to move that old energy down, out of the body. If you feel a sigh or a yawn or a deeper breath come over you, that is great news. You can consider it a sign of success that the diaphragm is starting to let go and things are coming into balance. Give yourself permission to yawn as often as you need to. We're also releasing tension on the front spine. The psoas is a muscle that connects the front of the spine to the inside of the pelvis, behind all the belly organs, and then the psoas continues down into the inner part of the upper leg bones. This is a muscle that tenses when our fight-flight responses are activated, the sympathetic aspect of the nervous system. We are inadvertently shortening this muscle with our sitting patterns as well. And this supine rocking movement is wonderful for releasing long-held tension, gripping, and holding here. We're turning on the parasympathetic nervous system and we're moving fresh blood, fresh prana, and life force in as we move old lymph and old toxins out. Breathing muscles relax, and our breath becomes deeper, easier, and more satisfying. This helps digestion, immune function, and mental clarity. We take the feet, heel toe, back to the midline, and we take the right foot up and over the left knee, and we circle the foot. And we lift the hands to the ceiling, spreading the fingers wide and circling the wrists, going a few times in one direction and a few times in the opposite direction. Then we shake the hands out, and we let the arms rest down on the ground in a comfortable place. We begin to rock. Knees moving in one direction and the head moving in the opposite direction. Letting go of the jaws, letting go of the eyes and the eyebrows. Slowing down the breath and slowing down the movements. We keep the brain quiet by continuing to bring awareness to where we are sensing the movement of the body in relationship to the earth, and also sensing how the breath is moving inside the body. We complete the out-breath and we feel the belly come to the front spine, massaging all of the belly organs. And we enjoy this very brief pause at the end of the out-breath, this quiet place of stillness. It's as if we dip our toe into this pool of peace. And we enjoy our time here, but we don't retain the out-breath to the point of disturbing the nervous system. There's just a very comfortable pause, and then the in-breath rushes in, and it feels so nourishing. Every breath cycle is dissipating another layer of tension, another layer of holding, of gripping. That energy is moving down in alignment with gravity. moving down with the concept of apana, this downward flowing energy associated with exhalations. Things begin to soften and the movements become easier and easier. We're also giving the low back a wonderful wringing out as well. The connections between the ribs and the spine and the pelvis are loosening up and releasing their energetic charge. And we're directing that energy downward toward the ground. The ribs and the whole abdomen begin to soften, and the breath becomes a little bit deeper, and the pauses just a little longer. Long, slow, smooth in-breaths, and long, slow, smooth, and complete out-breaths. Synchronizing the movements and slowing everything down. Then we come back to center. The feet come back heel toe toward the midline, and then we take the left foot over, resting on the right knee. And we circle the foot. We spread the toes, and we take the hands up to the sky, making fists. And we circle the fists and the wrists, and we circle the ankle, feeling the tension in new places that we're discovering in the forearms, in the nooks and the crannies between the two bones of the forearms. And then we just shake the hands, feeling tension coming out like water droplets. And then we let the arms come down to a comfortable place. And we begin to rock. Knees moving in one direction, head moving in the opposite direction. And everything is moving slowly here. The breath, the movements. We move the bottom jaw from side to side or in slow circles so that the temporomandibular joint area is also releasing. Noticing how areas are being ironed out, massaged out around the back of the hips, the low back. Noticing how the left sit bone can come down a little bit more after several breath cycles. Noticing how wonderful it feels to engage the muscles of the glutes while wringing out, ironing out long-held tension. Noticing this wonderful release of the sacrum and the pelvis, the sacred bone at the bottom of the spine that fits into the pelvis and is connected to the outside of the upper leg bone by the piriformis muscle. Sometimes this muscle tugs on the sacrum and pulls it out of alignment because it's too tight. And this gentle rocking movement sequence is wonderful to help release tension here that builds up. Then we come back to center. And we unravel the legs. We take the feet wider apart and we rock the knees in one direction and the head in the opposite direction, just noticing how things feel different, comparing the left side to the right side, comparing the breath, comparing everything now to how things were earlier. When the next exhalation comes along, we let the knees drop to the right, allowing the feet to hinge where they are. Then we take the hands behind the head and lengthen the back of the neck, turning the head in the opposite direction of the knees and resting the head down very softly. And we take the hands and the arms out to a comfortable position and we rest. We surrender. This is one of the most difficult things to do because there's that tendency to want to control things. So we grip, we hold on, we tense up. Here, we allow gravity to take over by bringing awareness to all of the parts of us that are resisting gravity. And we breathe light and spaciousness into those areas, making it feel more expansive. And then we use the out breath to move that energy down, apana, that downward flowing energetic wind, helping us take that old energy down into the earth to be recycled. As the tissues begin to soften and let go around the back of the left hip, all the way down to the side of the hip and the upper leg, we can sense the surrender of the top knee toward the ground. Then we become active in the pose. We press down into the inner foot and we energize the leg. We energize the glute and we press the glute away from the floor, opening the front of the hip. An option to consider is to take the grounded leg up and over, resting the shins against each other or resting the ankle on the top knee. Using isometric action, legs resisting against each other. This action of the inner rotation of the upper leg lengthens and opens the tissues around the sacrum and the outer hip. Three long, slow, smooth in and out breaths as we energize and hug all the muscles to bone here. We have this Wonderful, gentle opening and lengthening of the space between the bottom of the ribs and the top of the hips. Knee is moving away too, lengthening the front of the leg and the front of the hip. Then, at the end of the third breath cycle, we let go of the effort and we come back to surrender. Notice the difference between the right and the left, between now and earlier. Then we let the knees come to the left, with the feet hinging. We take the hands behind the head, we lengthen the back of the neck, and we turn the head to the right. The head is then resting gently down and the arms come to a comfortable place. There's a slight inward spiral of the top leg here, and we're releasing tension in the muscles that run from the sacrum across the side of the hip to the upper part of the outer leg joint. First, we completely release any effort here and observe closely. Breathing with awareness and curiosity about where the breath is going, where it's expanding. We notice the opening between the ribs and the hips. Then we become active, and the inner right foot presses into the ground. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction, so the power we are using to press down here through the foot is actually coming back up, energizing all of the muscles of the leg. Then the glute energizes and presses away from the ground, lengthening the front hip and the front leg. We take 3 long, slow, smooth, and complete in and out breaths. Moving the hip away from the bottom of the ribs, pausing at the end of the complete out breaths, feeling how delicious the in-breaths are. We can take the variation of lifting the left leg over the right leg, resting the left shin on the outer right leg, energizing the legs so that they're resisting against each other. Then we come back to center. We unravel the legs, take the feet a little bit wider apart on the mat. Rock back and forth, head moving in one direction, knees moving in the opposite direction. And just notice what's shifted and changed. Notice how the breath is different now. Notice how the upper body feels. how the spine feels, how the hips and the legs feel. We can enjoy this for a few breaths. Then roll over to the right and rest here for several breaths. And then using our upper body strength to help us come up, we take the top arm hand, press it down, coming up on the opposite elbow and forearm, pressing our way up, and coming up to sitting.